So the rheumatologist follow-up, at this point, we were still hoping to do the Yukon, but we weren't hopeful. Uh, we're planners, especially me. Whenever I'm hit by something like this, it's like, okay, if I can't do this, I'm going to do this. It's actually been kind of helpful because a few times I've run into somebody who's having serious health issues. They're just distraught. They backpack, they wanted to do that. And I generally have a couple of things I can point them at. For example, Sierra Club has had this mule packing section. So let's say you can't walk, but you love the Sierra backcountry. It's not cheap, but they will get you into the backcountry with 50 pounds of gear. You can base camp, you can be out there. It was my plan when my knee seemed like it might not recover and I might not get the backcountry in the manner that I'd been thinking. So when I went into that rheumatologist on April 30th, we seriously had about 5 different plans. Everything from Yukon, we're still doing that, carrying steroids as long as we think it's safe and reasonable. Okay. Fallbacks that involved maybe we go do the AT. You know, can do it southbound. The weather window is wide open. I've already done it. I can move along at whatever pace. Jen really loved it. Hadn't seen the northern end. And the AT is not wilderness. I've said that enough times. You know, it's going town to town. There are very few places where medical care is going to be very delayed. Civilization, easy access to town seemed kind of ideal. There were also shorter things. We talked about doing road trips. We could go up to boundary waters where we'd wanted to play around in canoes and hadn't been able to. Basically, everything was on the table. Came in, talked to the doctor, and he leveled with me and said, yeah, for 3 months, you're sick. And it's somewhat of a joke with me that I have occasionally pushed it a little, but I listen to doctors. If I'm told to do X, I do X. And these days I try and be very clear on what the bounds of X are. Years ago, I had bronchitis, went into a doctor, asked if I could go on a bike ride. He said yes. I did a 100-mile bike ride up and over Big Bear. It was scheduled. He said I could ride if I felt okay. Came back in with pneumonia. He basically slapped me, called me an idiot. And now we have much more defined conversations about all that. So I'm like, okay, homesick. What does that mean? Does it mean I can go? And what we came to is all of the plans are off the table. I need to be near medical care, ideally near him, near Scripps in case something goes wrong again. But I need to count on that I was going to be home. I wasn't going to be feeling well for a while. I was going to be on high doses of prednisone and Cellcept for a month or more. When I came off of the steroids, there was going to be a hard adjustment to that. 3 months basically until I would be able to return to activity. And once I did, I needed to realize that I wasn't just going to jump back out and be able to do stuff. I wasn't going to be near in the shape that I'd been in before. My cardio was going to crash. My muscles were going to melt away. Obviously, that was not what I wanted to hear. I really wish Jen had been with me there because I came out kind of accepting on it. She still kind of had what about this? What about this? And that was hard to take because I was frustrated, but I'm like, okay, I need to deal with this going forward. So that is kind of the lay of the land here. After that, we had already decided, well, if the doctor says Yukon's a no-go, Yukon's a no-go. We pulled the trigger a couple of days later of basically taking all the reservations because things were turnkey at this point. I drive to Colorado. I had rental cars, Airbnbs, rental car to drive all the way up. We had our canoe reserved. We had flights back to Anchorage and to get us back. And then to get me to the ADT. Everything for the summer was set, but I am a stickler for not letting myself get away with not doing something because it's uncomfortable or I'm tired. But there is a hard line for me as far as, medically advisable. When I've been on trail and I've had an issue like the Achilles where it was manageable and I can improve it, I stuck it out. Obviously, COVID and other things, I stuck it out. Once it got to the point with the COVID plus Noro where it wasn't safe to continue, I couldn't be out there and make it between the water carries. It was just miserable all the time. That's when I bail. I didn't want to come off the ADT, but there was just no choice. And this is where things are. So I have, it sucks. I won't lie. I mean, I struggle with mental health at the best of times being off trail. I am at my best. I am at my healthiest when I am on the move constantly, when I am being productive. That's why I love being on trail and making the videos, because it kind of keys into all of that. The sense of progress, the sense of, building up on something, things being different every day, and the videos just feeling like I'm doing something worthwhile. I mean, they're silly little videos, but we really like being able to go back and see them. I mean, watching random videos in the middle of the night in the hospital got me through a couple of, rough periods, because it's just like, oh yeah, that was so much fun. And the way we do them, it is because it takes us back, and we really enjoy kind of reliving that. Not to mention all the comments we get from people who say our videos got them through like a rough time, this or that medical crisis, and just all the cool folks that we've met. I mean, on the ADT, I don't know how many people we met along the way that had been following us for a couple of years because of the videos. And that was just really fun, really rewarding. So the other thing we did is we looked around, and obviously being out in Warner Springs, an hour and a half from Scripps La Jolla, isn't ideal. But this is causing budgetary issues. Like, we're not hemorrhaging here, but we normally budget things for we're in town in a rental for a couple of months, then we're out on trail. Trail has certain costs and certain offsets. Us making daily videos will offset a little more costs. Obviously, in town, things like going out to eat are generally a higher cost. I'm not doing much of that because I've been isolated up here. The side effects have made it kind of hard to go out in public or go very far. But we looked around, and the end result was this place seemed like a good deal. It's got a lot of room. I love being out like this. There are porches on either side. When I can walk around, it's great because I can walk around on the property. There are options nearby. So we contacted the guy, and we're like, yeah, so would you be okay with us extending this rental until basically mid-August? That gets me through the 3-month period that I am supposed to be at home and sick, not trying to do anything, and then gives me a couple of weeks to kind of ramp up, get out in the Sierra, get out on the PCT, and then best chance, happy path is maybe in September I can get out, do the Magallanes Rim or something. That is basically just everything goes as well as I can. I don't have any major setbacks, complications, additional injuries. Is it likely? I don't know, but the way I work is the way I stay sane when I'm off trail is I concentrate on when I can get back on trail, and that at least gives me something, because the idea of not getting to do anything until next March, where at the very least, basically the 2025 plan becomes the 2026 plan. That seems like an eternity. We also have dive trips that are still on the schedule. Bon Air and Thanksgiving, and Palau in New Year's. We have some commitment to those already. We're told it should be fine. Diving didn't cause this. There's nothing that should cause me not to be able to dive. But we don't know. Unfortunately, that's how things have gone. I have mostly just been lying around. I try and move around when I can, but the exercise intolerance thing, anytime my heart rate goes up, it is pretty bad. I got an Apple Watch, and just sitting here talking, my heart rate's up in the 90s. My resting heart rate is usually 56. I tried to sit in the tub the other day, and turns out hot water raises your heart rate. I never really noticed before. My heart rate was up at like 120, which very much doesn't feel great. And at least thus far, there is not a lot I can really do to deal with it. I am slowly going off steroids. I was on 60. I got to switch to 40 a couple of days ago. Next Monday, I'm down to 20. Another week, 10. Then I go off it. There will apparently be an adjustment period when I'm off of it. And at least for now, I have to continue the CellCept for a while. If you Google the side effects on both of those, I've hit most of it, and yeah, they aren't pleasant. I try and explain it to Jen. I kind of feel like if you haven't been through, especially the mood swings, and realize how bad they are, it can be hard to understand. One of the things that really helped, a friend of mine's sister has a long-term medical thing, and she's been on both of these medications at a high dose for a long period of time. And that helped more than I thought. I mean, part of me is always feeling bad, like talking to somebody who's having to deal with this long term, because here I'm a short termer and it should be fixed. But at least knowing that I wasn't crazy and that, yeah, this is really hard to take, that helped. Similar with like the referred shoulder pain after the surgery, because I felt like I was being a wimp when I got up and I was like bent over with how intense it was. And I have an aunt who has had 2 children, and she's like, when I had that shoulder thing, it was worse than childbirth for me. So I'm like, okay, I feel a little less wimpy. Other than the mood swings and the jitters, there's been a lot of kind of neuropathy, weird tingling and buzzing, especially in my feet. A little bit of swelling. My hands felt swollen the other day. Insomnia has just been bad. Jen and I haven't been able to sleep in the same room because I'm often up past midnight and I just can't fall asleep until I'm exhausted. And if I get 5 hours of sleep, restless, that's pretty good. And I've been afraid to take much else just because of the list of things that interact. My weight is supposed to go up due to all this. I lost 20 pounds during the various hospital stays and the gut pain, which got me down to my trail weight while I was off trail. So I don't mind that, but crashing that much in a couple of weeks starts to get a little worrying. Muscle fatigue and just the high pulse and the feeling like if I exert at all, it feels bad, has also been really bad. I was basically told, don't push it. You know, exert whatever you have to. You can walk around, but don't push it. Don't try and see if you can like get through it. You're going to cause trouble. There's also risks of like salt and sugar causing issues. Apparently the blood and urine monitoring that I do every couple of weeks will keep an eye on that. But now I'm like, I don't want to develop permanent diabetes or anything permanent from this. There is also a rare side effect where the joints just go necrotic. And that's the last thing I need, like, you know, permanent knee issues coming from a temporary thing. So I've been watching all those, trying not to become a hypochondriac. Interestingly enough, the best thing that we have found through all of this continues to be ChatGPT. I know it's like trendy to be anti-AI everything, but like I was telling my parents, you know, there's a huge difference between the ethical considerations of businesses using something for this and to replace workers and individuals having access to the tools. It is basically an improved version of that kind of Google AI search, which I appreciate because it kind of takes all the results and having to go in and get 50 million pop-ups and just gives you the content, aka the SEO industry broke the internet a couple of years ago, and this is kind of making it usable. And does an even better job. Sometimes when you ask it things, it'll go into this research mode and it'll take like 5 or 7 minutes and you can see it going through medical journals and kind of like adjusting the query. And then it gives you these pretty good results. And I always do a sanity check. I mean, I do that with anything because I don't trust myself, you know, brain to have answered anything. It's like, does this make sense? And if it doesn't, and you point that out, it's always corrected it, at least for me. That's like the hallucinogen, yeah, not speaking so well these days. It also cites its sources, so it's kind of like going to Wikipedia and using it to, okay, here's this link into this medical journal to find this. It was really useful with Mal's kind of chasing down all the individual case studies of this is what happened per this medical journal with this person versus this person. I am still trying to convince Jen to just sit down and kind of capture all her research, what she learned, because she has been neck deep in all this. And it has been kind of interesting. Don't mind the gunfire in the background. We're in the boonies of Southern California here. But yeah, that has been a really useful tool. And even if I go in, it now remembers all the previous conversations. So if I say I am feeling like this weird thing in my hands today, they'll go, okay, well, these are the normal concerns. This is where it's an issue. Oh, I see you're also on Cellcept. Let me look at it specifically in relation to that medication. I don't treat any of this as gospel, but it has been really useful for just kind of getting summaries really easily, and it's good about making tables and everything else. And it's kind of the where we start now versus just hitting Google and having to go through that whole ad infected mess. So that's where it stands at the moment. Since getting discharged from the hospital the second time, I have not yet had a reoccurrence of gut pain. It seems like, as strange as it is, that these were two unrelated issues, likely. You know, the vasculitis HSP might have come just from that respiratory infection, which happened to come before the MALS. So at least at this point, I feel like that whole diagnosis and surgery was correct, fixed the issue, and I was just lucky to get two of these back to back that happen to have similar but different intractable gut pain issues. So yeah, I have been both very lucky and very unlucky. And the HSP vasculitis probably came on from the respiratory thing, has been controlled with steroids. The reason why I had to bounce in and out of the hospital was a lower dose of steroids that didn't quite control it, and then go into the higher dose. And then it's just been kind of dealing with all the steroid and Cellcept side effects, which are not minor, but I just keep telling myself should pass eventually. It has been hard, especially as I've been struggling to find something productive I can do. I don't personally think a lot of making these videos, but at least it's doing something. At least it's getting some feedback. My family really enjoys seeing these, but like, I tried to make this video yesterday and my voice was worse than it sounded right now. And I was so shaky, I had to just lie down for most of the day. And when I'm lying down, I'm feeling so bad I can't do much of anything. I basically sit there propped up and try and play video games to detract myself and just try and pass hours until things get a little better. Sunday, Jen was here and I spent most of the day in bed, and I can manage a lot. I can deal with a lot. My kryptonite is being limited. You'll see me go into, I'm not the sort to go into a rage and yell or anything, but the angriest I get is when, like, I'm on trail and something I can't deal with stops me and I know I'm going to have to, like, not go forward. When I wasn't able to get into Quebec, when the foot things stopped me from continuing on the ADT, when I had to come off the CDT despite having pushed so hard to do it single year and making it through COVID and going back with Noro and everything. I rage at the limitations, and the day health issues like permanently keep me from doing the long distance things are going to be a dark day for me. But I'm also practical at a certain level. Is what it is. I can do what I can do. And so I try and just shift that and see what I can manage. At the moment, unfortunately, we have 100-ish days left in this rental. Maybe I get out, maybe I'm able to get back on trail after that, but 100 days I'm sitting around here, and at least thus far, I can't do much reliably. I can go back, I can start editing old blog posts and write there. Those always felt less rewarding than YouTube videos, but I don't know on a given day if I'm going to be able to be up or even like talk on video. I haven't been able to go back and do the Bon Air voiceovers because I hate listening to how raspy I am. I am doing speech therapy to try and resolve this, but at least so far that hasn't been very productive, and it is a single online meeting every 2 weeks, and I've had one so far. Plus side, I mean, the surgical stuff from Mal's has all faded. I can lift things. I'm no longer feeling like my guts need to be held together. I can generally eat. It still does weird things when it hits my system as far as my pulse going up and things. But I'm generally able to eat a good amount of things as long as I'm careful not to have anything that requires too much chewing. Jen made me some semblance of nachos the other day, which psychologically was great. I'd actually wanted to go out to eat. I've been craving Mexican food, but I didn't feel up for it. Like I said, I'm generally kind of like hunched over and a little shaky sometimes from the side effects, and that's kind of uncomfortable being out in public, and I don't want to be stuck 30 plus minutes away, like curled up in a booth or in the car, feeling like I can't move. And at this point, the days when I could go out to eat, it would have been a just try and do the thing versus enjoy the thing. So I'm just waiting until circumstances and opportunities align to go get some real food. Because I have not been, eating what I would call normally since this all started March 20th. But hey, like I said, at the end of the day, I feel very fortunate. These things were identified and dealt with pretty quickly. There is every indicator that this is not going to be a long-term thing, that in 3 months or 6 months or however long it takes, the HSP will have cleared, the MALs will hopefully never come back. That is a long-term fix, hopefully. And I'll be looking back on this going, okay, yeah, that was hard, but got through it. I had, I think it was 6 months or something like that of recovery after I had my knee surgery in 2015 from the injury in 2012, 2013. It wasn't great. At the time, it cost me most of my social circle. It's not that friends turn their back on you. It's just when you have social circles where you're used to seeing them doing trips and activities, it gets hard to kind of keep those connections up when all of a sudden you can't be there and you can't do that sort of thing. We have a lot of friends in a lot of places from these videos that, we've made connections with folks, but I'm not going to sit there and do like, here's my daily routine around the house BS, because I don't want to make those. I don't want to watch those. So there are some video things I would like to do. The unfortunate thing is just the ones that I really enjoy making and that are the most rewarding are the ones of us going out and doing things, the daily trail videos. The off-trail ones I'm never really happy with. I did happen to go back and look, and there was something I did at the end of the Florida trail when I was continuing through Alabama. It was just like a quick, this is what I learned. And I realized how many people I've had reach out and say that they found that useful over the years. And I have made a lot of notes about like the Mississippi source to sea. This is how we planned it. This is how we went about it. And I see so many people making it way more complicated than it has to be on the Mississippi source to sea group. I kind of feel like, well, that's something I can capture that will be of some use to somebody at some point. We have a couple of posts about our solar setup, the stats, the mile markers, the river coordinates, things like that. And I do see those get some use. So I'd like to do that. I'd like to do the same for the American Discovery Trail. I can't stand badly done or lazily made videos that I've seen elsewhere. I don't want to make those. And yeah, it's just me trying to get through my pet peeves and going, this doesn't feel good enough. I don't want to do this. Not to mention the amount of work it takes to edit those versus my dailies are pretty streamlined at this point. So we'll see. I'm doing some writing more than anything else, at least at this point, because at least I can do that when I'm not at my best. It's still hard to kind of lose myself. I used to I have something like 300 blog posts on my firstchurchofdamascus.com website, mostly from my peak bagging days. And I used to love doing that. I would sit at the bar when I was out in Boise for 5 years on a work project and type up, have pictures, and it just captured the trip. The videos have replaced that, but They're harder to do because you can't sit in a busy bar having your rogue dead guy and eating your nachos and work on that because background noise, etc. Here I can record until my voice goes, or the gunfire gets too loud, or the wind picks up, or 100 other things. There's been some hilarious attempts to record things in the campgrounds, trying to get somewhere where I can record without just constant traffic noise, blasting music, and everything else that makes busy areas a misery. So we'll see. Like I said, at least so far, every time I try and make a plan, okay, I'm going to try and do this today, this today, this today, dealing with side effects and just realities has kind of changed that. So we haven't found anything else. I mean, ironically, this makes me wish I could go back to some sort of a, not quite a desk job, but like a work from home thing temporarily, because at least I could feel like I was being useful and productive. I can happily sit around, keep myself busy, but there's a lot of that in the off season anyway. And 3 months of that, yeah, mentally that has been a struggle here, especially seeing Jen, who she works so hard at her job, but I also envy how in line with just who she is that is. I mean, I see how she lights up when she's going back to school, how excited and how engaged she is with the kids. And she has been able to do like extra work when she's had time, like tutoring and things, which is in line with her skill set. You can't really do temp enterprise content management work or the other stuff that I've done before. And at least right now, the software engineering market / IT is not in the best state. I'm 5 years out of regular IT work and my availability is 3 months. I have to be at home because I can't physically manage being like a Walmart door greeter because I might fall over or just be not able to manage at the drop of a hat. And any of the other options, we wanted to do like kitten fostering because Jen and her love of all things cute. And me, I like kittens. Not as much of a dog person due to childhood trauma, but cats I'm good with. There are issues with the immunosuppressed state. Obviously, we're in a rental. It's not real fair to have cats like ripping up a rental. And I could have to go back into the hospital at a drop of a hat. We both feel like things are a little more stable now, but we felt like that after the surgery. And by the second time I had to go back to the hospital, I remember getting into the car at like 4 a.m, just in horrible pain, just looking at Jen and going, it is what it is. Just gotta get through the hours, just have to get through it and we'll deal with it. Jen being there through all of this has been an amazing help. Both of us has wished that she could be there some of the other times when things were going wrong. There were a few cases where I was stuck several hours from her and then several more hours from the ER. But when we made those calls, we were doing the best we could with the information we had. Every step we've made, every decision has been informed. We talked about it. We thought we were doing the right thing, and you never know. I mean, again, see last year, see the various adventures. Each time I went back to trail, each time I did XYZ, it was what I felt was the reasonable choice, and sometimes you just gotta deal with it. So hopefully this will be the last of the bad updates. I may keep doing periodic updates of how I'm dealing with this, kind of similar to the off-trail injury updates before. Mostly it's probably going to hopefully be the more kind of informational off-trail videos. I know a lot of you don't like those as much as the on-trail stuff. I have looked, honestly, if we were doing this for a living and I wanted to maximize everything, this is why people have multiple channels, because people get annoyed at, oh, I don't care about this video. I go to Ryan George for pitch meetings, not him reading Reddit threads and making fun of them. But we do this for fun, and I have to keep it manageable, and trying to shift around to do all the comments just probably isn't worth it. And while like those of you that follow the hiking videos often don't like the diving videos, we do get people who reach out and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize diving was like that. I watched them because I loved you guys and I just wanted to see taters giggling underwater at 100 feet at a shark in Mexico. But wow, that's really cool. And for me, sharing all of this isn't about, oh, look at this cool thing I did. I have a very low opinion of myself and my ability to do things, believe me. I just like that. And same with the wilderness class. I love the sharing that there are these cool things out there, seeing people going and doing it, getting inspired. I mean, look at the Mississippi Source to Sea last year. Look in the background of people's pictures being posted on like the Facebook group. And a good amount of them have something that looks suspiciously familiar as that voltaic solar box I made. And the more that I share and people realize that, oh, the Mississippi is so cool. Oh, through hiking, like, isn't that challenging? I have gotten multiple people who thought, oh, I'm going to do the JMT in 2 years. And I got them out that season because it's like, okay, well, ignore the books and the REI presentations that are trying to sell you things. Let's talk about the actual like nitty gritty. You can just roll with it, do this, this, and this. And then they get out there and then they do the thing, and just seeing people after the fact feeling like I'm actually the sort of person who can do this. That's awesome. That's why I love the wilderness class. That's why I've stuck with it. I've been teaching that thing since 2009, and it isn't easy to stick to these days, dragging us back to this area. So at least for now, that's what I'm holding on to. Those are the videos you'll probably see. But at some point, some way, we will be back to making our more kind of on-trail Matt and Jen style videos. We still have plans to through hike all over the place. At this point, the next couple of years of plans are just moved out. Yukon 2026, finish the ADT 2026, Europe plans 2027, assuming we can still travel to Europe at that point. North Country Trail 2028, unless we find something even cooler and we kind of insert like we did with the Mississippi Source to Sea. And I have more plans than we have health and lifespan and money left to get to. I am going to drop dead, shaking my fist at the sky, going, I'm not ready. I got more to do here. There's a new trail, for example, on the east side of the Sierra connecting multiple towns. It's just a proposal, but somebody shared that with me, and I'm having that kind of prepped as, oh, I can do that on the shoulder season. I'm always finding new stuff. We're still slowly moving towards like a bike packing sort of setup, so Jen and I can do longer distance stuff and cover it while we're together. You know, we could do Mexico to Canada or across the US in her summer. We want to dive all over the place. And you know, the canoeing things. There's the North Forest Canoe Trail, and I have about a dozen other things at this point, which are look into this, do this when there's time. Not to mention there's some things like the Swanee and the Florida Trail that we wouldn't mind repeating. We have Google Doc after Google Doc of all the, you know, mad, wild plans that we come across. And whenever somebody reaches out or is talking to me and messages something I don't know, I put it in there. And then when there's time, I start doing like triage planning on, is it viable? This is what I need to do. And then when it gets serious, like with the ADT, I go into another mode. My planning process and how things actually go, my version of through hiking, etc., is one of those things I have a bunch of notes on I want to talk about at some point. I just can't take me rambling for however long I've been rambling at this camera, so I'm going to leave it there. But just know that, at least for the moment, I am in a little bit better of a state, even if I'm struggling to get through a lot of the days. Things are improving. Jen and I have a stable place. We're going to have to scrimp to get by here for a little while, but we'll be together for the summer in a pretty place. And as always, you know, we'll take it together one day at a time and manage what we manage is what it is, right?